So I have talked about the rapture theories that are out there before, and I want to do that again, a little bit more insight. I want to first go to 2 Peter 3 so that we will get instruction from the Apostle Peter about how to find the truth, how to find all the answers. 2 Peter 3, and beginning in verse 1, this second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance, that you be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us, the apostles of our Master and Savior. Now, for many congregations, the preachers say the words of the prophets don't matter anymore. So, to those of you who belong to or have been part of a congregation, you should already find anything those people say suspect when it comes to, especially when it comes to rapture, but when it comes to a lot of other things too. So now that we have a guideline about how to go about seeking the truth, the first thing to do is remember the words of the prophets. Go to the words of the prophets. Okay. So that's what we will do. Isaiah is a good one. We'll start in chapter 52. Awake, awake, put on your strength, O Zion. Put on your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for henceforth there shall no more come into you the uncircumcised and the unclean. So this is clearly, folks, the coming New Jerusalem. Shake yourself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loosen yourselves from the band of your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. So, captive daughter of Zion will have the bonds loosened from her neck. Once again, this is the future New Jerusalem. So he's saying to the Jerusalemites, thus saith Jehovah, you have sold yourselves for nothing, and you shall be redeemed without money. First, your people went down into Egypt to sojourn there. Of course, we all know what happened. 400 and some years of slavery, that's what happened. And then the Assyrian oppressed you without cause. Now therefore, what if I hear, saith Jehovah, that my people are taken away for nothing? Those who rule over them, the Gentiles, make them to howl, saith Jehovah. And my name is continually every day blasphemed. Therefore, my people shall know my name. Okay? Number one, his name is not Lord. His name is not God. His name is not Hashem. His name is Jehovah. Those who have a problem with it, you can just say Yah. That is also correct. So you shall know his name. That's first. Therefore they shall know in that day that I am he that does speak. Behold, it is I. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that brings good tidings, that publishes peace, that brings good tidings of good, that publishes salvation unto Zion. Who is it that says that Zion is going to be saved? And says, your Elohim reigns. Your watchmen shall lift up the voice. Together they will sing, for they will finally see eye to eye when Jehovah shall bring again Zion. Break forth into joy, sing together, you waste places of Jerusalem, for Jehovah has comforted his people. He has redeemed Jerusalem. He has made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our Elohim. Depart, depart you, get out of there. Get out of where? Get out of the ends of the earth, get out of all the nations. Get out of there. That's going, at that time, that's what is going to be said. Get out of those nations. All the elect, all Israel, and all the Rahabs, and all the Ruths. Touch no unclean thing. Get out of the midst of her. Be you clean that bear the vessels of Jehovah. Now, here are a couple of clues here. Will you go out at the snap of a finger and disappear? And be lifted off into some other heaven somewhere? That's not what it says. Remember what I told you, or I should say, remember what Peter told you. Listen carefully to the words of the prophets. For you shall not go out with haste. Let me repeat that. For you shall not go out with haste. Why would anybody go out with haste? Out of fear. Nor by flight. In other words, that word flight means by fleeing, not by air. It doesn't mean not by airplane flight. It says you will not go in haste, you will not flee. And of course, there are certain congregations that talks about fleeing into the wilderness. Again, no. There's no more fleeing. There is no more fleeing for Israel. It's done. For Jehovah will go in front of you, and the Elohim of Israel will be your reward, or your second reward. In other words, when Israel entered into the land of the promise the first time, the Elohim of Israel was Jacob's reward. And he led him into the Holy Land through Yehoshua. So when Jehovah, the Father, sends Yehoshua number 2, Israel will receive their reward. The second Exodus, the second entrance into the promised land. Now, so if they're not going to go out in haste, nor by fleeing, then what does Paul mean when he's speaking to the Thessalonians in 1 Thessalonians 4 and verse 17? We'll start in verse 13. But I would not have you be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep. So he's focusing in this passage mostly on those who are dead. that you sorrow not even as others which have no hope. But if we believe that Yeshua, not Jesus, Yeshua died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yeshua will Elohim bring with him. Bring with him where? For this we say unto you by the word of the Master, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Master shall not prevent them which are asleep. In other words, shall not go before the ones who are asleep or the ones who are dead. The dead are going to at the last trumpet. In other words, how do I put this? It says, shall not come before or arrive before those that are asleep. For the Master himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, the voice of an archangel, with the trumpet of Elohim, and the dead in Messiah will rise first. Then we which are alive and remain, it says, to seize, catch up, snatch away. And the word harpazo is the word that is used here. All at once, together, in a cloud, to meet the Master in the air, so shall we ever be with the Master. So this is how people got the idea that the Master will remain in the air forever and ever and not come down to the New Jerusalem, when it specifically says that the New Jerusalem that's going to be where Jerusalem is today is going to be on the earth, and the throne of the Almighty himself is going to be on the earth, and the Messiah is going to be sitting on David's throne. So why the misinterpretation here? Once again, the misinterpretation comes from refusing to read the words of the prophets. We will now go, we just read that it will not be in haste, and it will not be fleeing, running for your lives. Isaiah 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Jehovah is risen upon you. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. The plague of darkness is clearly in the fifth trumpet sound. And gross darkness to people, the Gentiles. Yes, great darkness. A plague of darkness is going to cover much of the earth. But Jehovah shall rise upon you. That's rise upon Zion, and his glory shall be seen upon you. And the Gentiles shall come to your light, and the kings to your brightness. Lift up your eyes round about, and all they gather themselves together. So he's speaking to the land, he's speaking to Mount Zion, he's saying, all of who are gathering themselves together? All of Israel. All of the ones that it speaks of in 1 Thessalonians 4. And verse 15, 16, and 17. They're all gathering themselves together. They come to you. Your sons, they shall come from afar. And your daughters shall be nursed at your sides. at your side. You shall see, speaking to the land again, and flow together. Your heart shall fear and be enlarged because, what? Because the abundant murmuring in the sea will be overturned. That's what it says. If you read Strong's Concordance, you will see that that's exactly what it says. In other words, Israel's enemies in the Mediterranean Sea are going to be defeated. That's right. I hope I don't have to spell that out. The beast in the Mediterranean Sea, the one that comes out of Europe into the Mediterranean Sea like a boot, will be overturned. So that's the reason why the land will be enlarged. The forces of the Gentiles shall be yours. The forces, the armies and the wealth of the Gentiles will now belong to Israel, will now belong to Zion. The multitude of camels shall cover you, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah. They all from Sheba shall come, and they shall bring gold and incense. Yes, folks, we know that the Arabian Peninsula has a lot of gold to bring to Zion for tribute. And they shall show forth the praises of Jehovah. All the flocks of Qatar will be gathered unto you. And the rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you, and they shall come up with the acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. Verse 8. Who are these that fly as a cloud? Now, let's look in Strong's Concordance. Verse 8. Who are these that fly is one word, brandish. It's like it's flying. I don't know why they say brandish, but it's like flying like a seraph, like seraphim. All right. Now, fly, a dark cloud, a thick cloud, a thicket. So, what he's seeing is, he's seeing a mass flying as a cloud or in the cloud. Doves to their lattices, windows, or sluice. So, it is accurate to say that it is saying, what or who are these that fly as a cloud as dove to their windows? Now, Isaiah elaborates, and a lot of people do not understand that in the Bible you have a statement, and then that statement is elaborated upon and explained. Well, Isaiah does this in verse 9. Verse 9 explains verse 8. The coastlands that wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish will be in the lead. To do what? To bring your sons from afar. Then how could these ships be bringing Zion's sons from afar if they're flying? Well, in the days of Isaiah, there was no answer to that. In the days of the Apostle Paul, there was no answer to that. But today, in this age, we have an answer. How do you fly? In the clouds, on ships. Well, my mom and dad have moved to live near my sister, my three sisters and my brother down in Texas. And this happened last week, and I miss them greatly. But they flew on a ship. I don't know, it was probably a 737, but they flew on a ship. You see, the pilots who pilot these ships, they call their airliner ships. That's what they are. And so Isaiah was correct. He worded it correctly. It is not his fault that people don't read his writings correctly. No, he worded it correctly. So they will be flying on ships. And they're going to bring their gold and their silver with them. They are not going to be penniless like the Iraqi Jews and the Syrian Jews and the Egyptian Jews who were thrust out of their homes and left with nothing but the clothes on their back in 1948. It's not going to be like that. Oh, no. No, this time they're going to leave with all their belongings, which proves that they were not going to leave in haste, nor are they going to be fleeing. It says right here they're going to be bringing their gold and silver with them. So Isaiah 52 says they are not going to go out in haste, in verse 12, nor by fleeing, running for their life. Not going to happen like that. No, it's not going to be like what happened in 1948. Why? Because the nations just got shut down. Why? Because as it says in Isaiah 60, and verse 2, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness of Gentiles. They won't need to flee. Their enemies in the Mediterranean Sea are going to be overturned, defeated. And the children of Israel will have nothing to fear. Why? Because Jehovah says that he is going to go before them, in front of them, lead the way. The Elohim of Israel will be your reward. Now, in Isaiah 52, what does it say right after? Right after verse 12? Behold my servant, that's Yeshua, the one by whom Jehovah is going to lead the people of Israel back into the Holy Land. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. The one that everybody was astonished at. The one whose visage was so marred, more than any man his form, more than the sons of men. And he will sprinkle many nations, and the kings shall shut their mouths at him. For that which had not been told them they shall see, and that which they had not heard they shall consider. Yes, they're going to shut their mouth and say to Israel's Messiah, yes, Master, when he says, hand over those people, yes, Master, that's what's going to happen. Now, once again, we have people who misinterpreted the scriptures and made brazen and unwise claims concerning Jeremiah 16:16. You see, when you go to Jeremiah 16, in most Bibles, when it starts in verse 14, it says, when Jehovah restores Israel. So beginning in verse 14, he says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that it shall no more be said, Jehovah lives, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and it shall no more be said, Jehovah that lives, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So that saying is no more going to be said. Instead, it's going to be, but Jehovah lives, that brought up the children from the land of the north and from all the lands where he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Behold, verse 16, I will send for many fishers, saith Jehovah, and they shall fish for them. And after that, I will send for many hunters. So he's not going to be satisfied until every one of them are brought out. All who call upon the name of Jehovah, all who have Jewish or other Israelitish tribal blood in them will all be taken out. And they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. For my eyes are upon their ways, and they are not hid from my face. Neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes. But first I will repay their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable, abominable things. But that's already happened. But what has not happened yet was him digging them out of their holes and fishing them out wherever they are. So, who are these fishers and hunters that are going to dig them out of their holes and bring them back to the Holy Land? Who are they? Matthew 24:31. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, beginning with the first trumpet, is what I suspect. And they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven, or one end of the sky, unto the other. So the angels are the ones who will do the hunting and the fishing, and dig them out of their rocks and the mountains and every nation where they are. And what they are going to do? Get them loaded up on ships, on flying ships with all their gold and silver with them, and be transported in the air, in the clouds, to be with the Messiah, who is coming in the air, in the clouds, from heaven down to Jerusalem. But now, if you don't read the prophets, if you reject and disobey the words of Peter when he said in 2 Peter 3 and verse 2 that you be mindful of the words which are spoken before, or in previous times by the holy prophets. If you reject that, you will never understand 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 13 through 18. Now, if you are going to be hard-headed and choose to reject the words of Peter, especially those who call yourselves Christians, I can only rule my own life. I can't rule yours. That's going to be on you. So hopefully I have helped bring the scriptures together to shine some light on the truth about the so-called rapture and why the current narrative that's been going on for many, many years is incorrect. If you stick with the words of the prophets, you will come to the truth. You will come to the truth every time. Even Peter agrees.